Hey Kim, how's it going?
Doing good.
Good. So before we get started, I mean, we just have Jim in the room here right now. I just wanted to ask, if you were okay with switching 9A and B. Yvette asked if she could go before the BPAC non-motorized project nominations because her information will actually inform, the conversation for BPAC.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, switch 9A and 9B.
Okay, do you want to make a note of that at the beginning? I mean, I think technically you're supposed to vote on it, but that just feels a little overly formal.
Right.
Whatever. Your call, Chair. Oh, we got a Matt.
Welcome. How's everybody's record? By the way, I'm gonna be on the weekend or mentioned the July meeting for BPAC. We don't have a July meeting at all.
Oh, right, August meeting.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of information at the bike ballot. Yay, I was actually just thinking that we need to. Thanks.
I'll check back in. Nice.
Can't wait to put this on another.
Number two.
Yeah, I got it.
You just kind of ordering those by like.
Okay, Kim, just for your count, we've got you and Travis online. Ron Davis will be absent today. He's out of town. And then in the room, we've got Jim, Larry, and Matt. So we do have quorum already. What's the weather out there right now? I feel like every time I've gone outside today, it's been different.
It's sunny.
Sunny.
Pretty nice now. Pretty nice.
I don't think we'll go over, but we do have a nice full agenda today, which is what I was hoping for.
Are Jackson or Deb there in the room?
Oh, no, we don't have either of them. Yeah, neither of them are here. Jackson is in Albuquerque at some conference.
Oh, wow.
And then, yeah, Deb could stay, so it is Corey and I holding down the fort. But I'm prepared to give all the updates to the best of my Jackson ability. Hello.
I looked at your, that map, my map for this one here,
Yeah,
amazing,
thanks. Yeah, we worked really hard on it.
wow.
It's spiffy. It's hard to herd all those cats, but worth it in the end. Corey was a champ with Illustrator. What was it? We said the 5 versions this time.
Yeah, only 5.
Only 5 versions.
Sometimes it's taken 10.
Yeah,
Just with like little
You
quirk.
got neon.
We got
we
neon.
got Nia.
I feel like we've entered like a whole new era.
Yeah,
Now that we know how to ask for neon.
yeah.
Yeah, did you guys already get maps? There's some, yeah.
Brand new then.
Oh, no,
Hello, what's your name?
Anthony,
Anthony. Nice to meet you. I'm Olivia.
nice to meet you.
Yeah, how'd you hear about the meeting?
I met Paul, my boss.
Okay, cool. So you're here
Yeah.
with that.
Or
Perfect.
you can grab a couple too. If you want.
Well, pretty colors,
Yeah.
detail, pretty amazing.
Yeah, did you see the bus route direction is in there?
Oh, I didn't look at the book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the directionality, it's pretty sweet. My stomach sinks every time I
hard
open
to-
it, looking for something. So I'm like, what if they turned it off? We missed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I can't really see what's going on in the room now, but it's after 5, so I think we should call the meeting to order.
Yep, we're good to do that
Oh.
in here.
All right. Cool. Well, I'm Kim Streeter. I'm the chair of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. Online with myself, we have Travis Nybert. In the room, we have committee members Jim Richardson, Larry Zervos, and Matt Leral. Fast planning staff that we have are Olivia Lunsford and Corey DiRitigliano. And sounds like we have a guest there in the room. Can you state your name for the record?
I'm Anthony Hunt.
Okay, thank you. Awesome. All right. So we'll move on to item number 3, which is the approval of the Thursday, June 26, 2025 agenda. I'd like to entertain a motion to switch items 9A and 9B. And so can we go ahead and have a second and then vote on it?
Sure, what's the motion?
To switch items 9A and 9B around on the agenda.
Oh, move one up, vote the other?
Yeah, I didn't order them properly, so the 9B will actually inform a lot of your conversation for 9A, so they should be reversed.
I'll second it.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. Looks like we have Dawn Galligan who just signed online. Hi, Dawn. We're just moving on to number 4 here. Item number 4. Oh wait, do we have to vote to approve the agenda after we motion to change it?
Yes.
Okay.
To approve.
Okay. Matt motions to approve it. All right. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Are all
Larry.
in favor?
Hey, fine.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? All right, thank you guys. Moving on to number 4. This is the approval of the meeting minutes from our last meeting on April 26th, or sorry, 24th, 2025. If you guys have had a chance to read over the minutes and see any corrections that need to be made or any edits, you can bring them up right now. Otherwise, we just need someone to motion to approve these meeting minutes.
I'll move to approve. I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, we'll accept these meeting minutes. The next item will be our staff and working group report. Olivia, are you doing that today?
Sure, yeah. Okay, where to start? So we haven't met since the end of April in a BPAC capacity. We did have that working group meeting regarding the Stees and Parks, or the Sheep Creek Extension and Parks Highway intersection. And we have since received via email the updated plans that you had all discussed if you've been able to attend that working group meeting. I can work on pulling those up. Other than that, we've had 2 rounds of meetings that have come and gone for both our technical committee and our policy board. So the last time that we met in a BPAC capacity, you had voted to change the name of the committee to the BPAC. The technical committee actually voted to not recommend to the policy board that you change your name to the Walk and Roll Advisory Committee. The reasoning behind it was that they felt it didn't have as much oomph or professional gusto. And so if we're going to be a committee that's writing letters to the legislature, what have you, they requested that we consider an alternative name. So we will be going back to that item a little bit later in the meeting today. Other updates, in that same meeting, after that meeting, yeah. In that same meeting, there were several changes recommended to the policy board regarding our bylaws. And the policy board voted on all of these bylaw changes and added more bylaw changes. So our updated bylaws are now on the Fast Planning website under our operating documents, and you can see all of the changes. Corey and I were talking about one, and neither of us can remember exactly what happened. The minutes or the amendments here confuse me a little bit, but I can't remember what the language was. We were both under the impression that we left this meeting having had our privileges to serve as chair and co-chair revoked. And so I think the next round of voting for chair and co-chair for BPAC and other committee is Fast Planning staff won't be able to serve as that option. But the way that it's written here, I'm not 100% sure that it's reflected accurately. So need to double check on that, and I can send you a follow-up. Yeah.
Sorry, I think that what it's saying is there's a section 5 that says committee chairs must come from membership. Crass and Hopkins tried to strike that section, and that striking it failed. So
Right.
it's still
Okay, so
required
it's still-
the chair and vice chair need to come from the membership.
Oh, that makes sense.
Not from
Committee
staff.
membership. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Thank you.
So how come you can be a chair now?
I'm doing the staff report. Kim's chairing. And I'm a co-chair right now, but we haven't done the rounds of, they didn't say anything about when it would change over, so I imagine Jackson will just change it over when we always do the elections. But yeah. It's a little perplexing. But we'll bring you more updates on that. Because I have a feeling they're gonna crack the bylaws open again, so. I'm
They're
gonna
gonna do what?
crack the bylaws open again. Seems like that's just what they are up to right now at the policy board level. The following round of meetings, so this month in June, the technical committee and policy board both voted to advance a letter to Governor Dunleavy, supporting the continuation of the Roads and Highways Advisory Board. This board was suddenly, sunsetted, and the letter that, Jackson wrote on the behalf of the policy board highlights all the reasons why this is an important board, and brings important information to legislators. And then we also, the technical committee and the policy board approved $100,000 additional dollars, in funding for the Anchorage Miller Hill Road Reconstruction Project, which we could probably just ask Yvette a little bit about that later today if you guys have any more questions. And then approving the TIP administrative modification number 6. And the policy board, as per usual, they kind of went through and made a couple of updates and changes, but for the most part, kept it the way the technical committee recommended it. So those are the updates of what happened through the committees. I did do the literature review over inclusive transportation, a manifesto for repairing divided communities by Veronica Davis. I did that at the June technical committee meeting, and it seemed really well received. It was definitely like quiet and awkward for a lot of the minutes after the lit review, hopefully because folks were in a state of reflection. But I was really grateful to Kellen, the director of community planning, who shared a story about how the system itself actually worked in our community years and years ago, because the planning commission and the planning department and FMAS and concerned citizens managed to stop like a highway or thoroughfare, basically cutting through like the neighborhoods off of Illinois and dividing communities even further. And so that was really fun just to hear like the opposite. You know, I was expecting someone to share pretty negative something or another, and that was a positive. So it was fun coming out of that lit review with a win. And if you haven't read it yet, I would highly recommend it. But there are also so many interviews with Veronica Davis on Spotify. So that's it, I think, for my staff report.
So I guess I'm a little confused about the name change.
Yeah,
Doesn't,
They want to leave it like it is, was.
the technical committee wants you to take another look at it. So, I mean, we have,
didn't the policy board then approve?
no, it never made it to the policy board, because the technical committee voted to not recommend the name change to the policy board, and therefore the solution is to bring it back to you guys and get something else, because, I mean,
Did they, I guess you'll tell us what the reason was. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I already kind of did, but yeah, we should, yeah, let's hold on just a little bit longer, and then when we get to that item, we can go through a little more. That concludes my report.
Thanks, Olivia. I don't really have anything for the chair report this month. So we'll go ahead and move on to item number 6, which is the bike-friendly FBX updates.
That is also me, and yay, it's its own standing item. Figured that one out, took way too long to realize we needed to do that. First and foremost, the maps are here, as we were talking about earlier. We got a shipment of 1,000 of them, on rush delivery in time for the Midnight Sun Festival, and gave out, I mean, probably 250. I mean, close to it. That one box was almost empty, so. We've got new businesses, and we did add 2 additional repair kits to the community, one at R&M Consultants over a little bit east of the Morris Thompson Center on the north side of the river, and then, and then the Chena Tool Library actually was sponsored for a repair kit from Agnew Beck Consulting, and Fast Planning sponsored a park tool bike stand to go with it so that people can check that repair kit out and get the bike stand and take the whole setup home, do all their bike work that they need to do, and then bring it all back. So I'm really excited about getting that bike stand to the tool library. I think that's a really good fit. The free bike valet at the Midnight Sun Festival was a success. We parked 140 bikes, gave away so many helmets, and gave away a lot of bikeways maps, and talked with a lot of people. I was like hoarse for 2 days after, just for drinking so much. And then on the note of the bike ballet, we are officially a go for starting up for Music in the Gardens. So we'll have it running all through July and for their shows in August, which I think is 3 Thursdays. So we'll hopefully get 6 to 7 weeks out of it at Music in the Gardens. I think this is the model that we'll go with for the future as well. Like, let's just get through the Night Sun Festival and then pop up at the gardens after. Unless we find a really sustainable way to start popping it up as soon as they start those concerts. Corey and I went to NACTO, the National Association for City Transportation Officials in DC, and it was awesome. We both spent a bunch of time on bikes and did training on the Urban Bikeways Design Guide, Volume 3. So that was super comprehensive, and it's really plug and play. And I would love for us one day to maybe just do a work session where we just pick a few intersections in town and try to apply the Bikeways Design Guide. So that you could just see how it works, because it's a puzzle and it's really fun to do. And then Corey, do you want to provide an update? Well, obviously the bike lanes are here, but we have that as an agenda item. Woo! And then would you provide an update on the bike racks that are over there?
Yeah, so today was the final day of the Fairbanks North Star Boroughs Girls Who Weld program that happens at Hutchinson Technical School. So they fast planning talked with them last year, but a little too close to their program start, so we couldn't do this program with them summer of 24. But this year we were able to get ahead of it a little bit, work with the instructor Pete Daly, who's actually the state instructor of the year for the state of Alaska. So it's pretty awesome to like get to work with him because he's a terrific educator, really passionate about teaching. So he worked with 16 girls that enlisted in the 16-day intensive that they did 96 hours over the course of 2 weeks, I think, something like that. And ended up with their welding certificates. They fabricated 9 bike racks for us, and every summer we're going to work with them to create more bike racks. We'll work with them to potentially like tweak the design as we go, but they made staple style racks for us that have the logo that's on the Bike Friendly Fairbanks maps, the Bikeways map, that's on the bike racks over there. So after the meeting, we can pull one out if folks want to take a peek. We're going to deploy them at businesses that are on the Bikeways map that expressed an interest in having them. And then we just found out yesterday at a different meeting that Big Rays is interested in dedicating one of their parking lot spaces in between the Cravery and Big Rays to bicycle parking. So we'll install a 4-pack bike rack over there with one of these custom racks. And then we're also looking at potentially temporarily tacking in a bike stand repair kit as well. So yeah, anyway, lots of good stuff happening with bike infrastructure. And we're hoping to keep the momentum going and keep making more of these.
That concludes our report for now then.
Can I make a suggestion for next year's bikeways map?
Yeah.
I would like to see the Matt Glover bike path labeled as such on the map.
Sure.
Otherwise, it looks great.
Well, thanks for your work on that, guys. It sounds like there's some awesome stuff happening. We'll go ahead and move on to item number 7, which is our public comment period. Is there anybody who would like to offer public comment during this time? I see that Don has his hand up.
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, more a request than a comment. I would really love it if I could request a letter from the BPAC for, just giving your opinions and thoughts on the Sheep Creek Parks Highway intersection design. That's going to be coming forward for local planning authority approval. And that'll be happening in most likely September, October timeframe. So we have some time here. But I would really value, kind of an outside perspective that I could include in my staff report for that.
Sure, yeah, we can get started on that, Dawn.
That would be wonderful. But
Okay.
that concludes my public comment.
We'll put it on the agenda for next meeting. If we have some time, so next month's July and August, yeah, we've got time, so we can put it on, for August, cause you said September, October, right?
Right, right.
Okay, and if the timing, we can touch base on the timing, but if that gets a little weird, we could always circulate it, and go from there.
Okay, yeah, that'd be fine.
All right. Is there anyone else who'd like to give a public comment during this period?
It's like Yvette has her hand up.
Oh, Vet, okay, Vet,
Hi. Yes, thank you. I was looking at the bikeways map and I was wondering, I see that a number of facilities are shown as sidewalk connector. And, as I've been working on looking into, different facilities for bikes. I just wonder, whether that makes it look public, like it's really a sidewalk and not a shared use spot that's vertically separated. And it may make it appear that it's not as bike friendly as it really may be, because like on the college road, they're, I think, 8 to 10 feet wide, so they're the same width as,
shared use.
separated ones. I just wonder for next year, if that would be a different way. You could consider a different way to name those.
Yeah, maybe this winter we kind of start working on like a new nomenclature. That's nomenclature that we inherited from forever ago, and so already we've distilled it. I think there used to be like 13 different categories, so we've distilled it a lot, and so it makes sense that if some things don't seem to match, like from an engineering perspective versus just like a user, yeah, so I'm more than happy to like make some upgrades to the technology.
In college, marked green.
Sorry, the one between this highway and Johannesburg Expressway. I just know that because that was my project. And
Right, yeah.
tried to pave it as wide as I could, so I'm like, it's not sidewalk, it's supposed to be a shared use
Okay.
spot.
well, thanks for bringing that up. I bet that's a good point. Are there any
Yeah,
other?
at least some of that, if not all of it's as wide as the part of college going towards university, right?
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
And there might be also opportunity to put like a width of the pathways, some of that. I don't know, anyway.
On the digital map, I feel like anything goes in the digital map, so like I can put the Matt Glover path on the digital map tomorrow. I haven't like fully launched it yet, but that we could do the lane width, for sure. I think I even have some of that data, so that's really fun and would be great to add.
Yeah, similarly, like the Parks Highway has the shared use path, then like out towards Esther, but then it's kind of like, right, it's like attached to the street, but it's still really wide.
It's attached.
So it's like
Yeah.
a wider than a normal shoulder, but it's marked as a shoulder on here, except for the part that is actually separated. But those kind of semantic things. Maybe we could look at again.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and I think it'd be good to go through with a fine tooth comb. So I appreciate it.
I do like that.
Thanks, yeah. Work.
Do you have any more public comments for this item or for now? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to item 8, which is old business. The first item under old business is our name change. We're going back to the drawing board. So we can go ahead and open it back up for some of the discussion that we were starting to get into during this share report. All right.
I can present real quick.
Sure. Go ahead.
So right here, the roles and responsibilities, Jackson had gone through and updated them with the walk and roll advisory committee. So these roles and responsibility amendments still haven't gone through the policy board because Jackson wants them to go bundled with a name change. So the policy board still hasn't seen this. The technical committee voted in favor of the changes to roles and responsibilities except for the name change. So now we're just taking back a step, then hopefully move forward again. The reasoning the technical committee wasn't in favor of the walk and roll advisory committee is because they didn't think that it had the strongest sense of professionalism. And so like writing it on letterhead or what have you, and sending, like, for example, the time that we did the AAC revisions, and had like, you know, several letters of support, and we were like the front facing letter for that. I think that was the reference that they made. I wasn't at the meeting, and so this is all information from Jackson, but that was the general like vibe, and so they wanted you guys to take a look. I don't know if they actually saw the list here, but I thought I would provide it again just to get creative juices flowing. I will say, like, personally, as fast pending staff, I'm really committed to working through this and getting a name change because I really want to find something that doesn't call out specific users, but like includes users. But if you guys don't feel that strongly about it, like you could also, you can take it a different direction, but I just wanted you to know, I'm here for the long haul. And so these were the names that I brought. And then some other ones that have kind of come across my radar lately. Charles Brown wrote a book that we're eventually going to have on our lit review list. And he talks in his book about the right to movement. And I just like that sort of phrase stuck out in my head. And so maybe it's just like movement or, but it's just everybody has a right to movement, whatever that kind of movement is, or mobility or what have you. And so that's kind of where that one came from. Corey and I were also talking about local movement advisory committee. Something came across my desk that said like local motion, which I love because it's like locomotion. And we both caught it right away and thought that was really fun. But I don't know who that organization is, and I would feel bad just stealing it without even sending them an email. But local motion advisory committee or local movement advisory committee. Or of course, we've got the other ones like AltMac. Choices in Transportation Advisory Committee was a popular one. I could probably look at the little survey, you know. That kind of concludes my report for now. You guys can go ahead, let me know if you have any more questions.
And their complaint about walk and roll was not professional enough or
Yeah, serious enough.
dignified enough.
Yeah, I think like just based on what I saw at the two meetings, like before this happened, because we gave them an update, but then gave the policy board an update, then went back to actually get the vote from the technical committee the next time. And when we said walk and roll, everyone was like, oh, did you talk to that Chinese place over at whatever, because they heard walk and roll, like in Fairbanks. I forget what restaurant that is, like where it is, but I think that was kind of like, they just didn't want it to be the butt of a joke, which I can understand.
I said, let's narrow it down. I kind of like, the last one, Transportation Options Advisory Committee,
Yeah,
and the other one, the AATAC, dropped the active, just put Accessible Transportation Advisory Committee.
Which one's that one? Oh, there, I see it.
And, those are the two that really strike out to me.
So what's the suggestion on the AATC again?
Just call it Accessible Transportation
Get rid of the act.
Advisory Committee.
What about like Transportation Alternatives Advisory Committee, PAAC?
yeah, I
It'd be
mean,
pretty good, that's not bad either.
I actually think, Jim, you might have sent me one like that a while ago. Our conversation surrounding the word alternatives, just to kind of bring it back, and John's on the line and kind of, he had pointed this out, just like calling out not driving as an alternative might contribute to the sense that it's lesser than having a vehicle or driving a vehicle. I don't necessarily feel that way, but I could see how alternative might contribute to the stigma. Which is then how we wound up at options or choices.
I don't like any of those three words.
Okay, do you have any other ones?
I like the idea of Accessible Transportation Advisory Committee.
Okay,
I would say that my two votes would be that one or keep BPAC as is.
Which is the accessible.
Or go to walk and roll. That was already like struck by the technical.
What you want to, you're suggesting, besides the,
That one, but without, yeah.
yeah, accessible, so.
The vet have a comment.
I do have a comment. For us, at DOT, accessible means ADA.
Yeah.
So that is, like, if you're thinking accessible to all nodes,
right.
that's not how it's going to be received by all.
And all modes, multi-modes.
I like the one that has active in it, since active transportation is, it's a concept, right? It's kind of, it includes pretty much walking and biking as well as other forms of use, like people using wheelchairs and whichever options people choose.
Right, that's true, because even if you are using like a mobility assistive device, like you're still being active, like you're.
So I guess I have, you said, or a question, you said that it was brought, the name change was brought up at the policy board, but wasn't actually voted on.
Early, yeah, so,
Yeah, because I talked to Scott Crass and he said that everyone in the policy board liked it. I thought it was already a done deal changing, so I was pretty surprised when he set out
yeah,
the staff report for this meeting.
yeah. I mean, we could always just try to send rack through again.
I mean, they didn't reject it, but they just, I mean, how did we get this thing back?
Well, the technical committee recommended not to change the name of the
Oh.
policy board, but the policy board could still change it without the technical committees.
They could,
Agree.
Jackson just wanted you guys to like. Have an
I
option,
guess it depends how strongly we feel about walk and roll committee.
right,
Don't, it might be the butt of jokes, but I don't think it would be the butt of jokes for very long before it was just sort of like accepted.
yeah. I mean, maybe what we could do is have one.
Roll and walk.
Roll and walk. We could have one of you come and talk to the technical committee.
So what's the other option? Somebody, Transportation Options Advisory Committee, is that what somebody suggested? That's off, I'll take a moment.
I guess,
How about Transportation Options Committee?
Yeah.
It's my problem with options and choice. And probably I don't like choice more than I don't like options, but my problem with both of them is that if we're trying to roll in people who can't drive,
Right.
as opposed to just people who bike or walk out of choice, then using the word options or choice is like negating the reason we want to change the committee.
Yeah.
Because those are the kind of people who don't have the option.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's
If
true.
you're in a wheelchair, we
Yeah.
want to advocate for you. You don't have the option to not be in a wheelchair. If
Right.
you can't afford a car, we want to advocate for you, not because you choose to walk, because you have to walk. Can't walk.
Sorry, I see your hand.
At the risk of becoming maybe a little oblique, what if we start to shift away from, options and use words that are what the goals of this group are to have is like a connected network or a multimodal network or, something, not to say that network is part of the name, but what if the focus becomes on like modal equity or so broadly accessible. Accessibility is triggering for DOT because it means wheelchairs, ramps and cross slopes and all these other things. But like an integrated network or inclusive, I know is a trigger word when it comes to grants and things like that. But maybe there's a higher level word that can still convey this broader concept that we want to have.
The advisory committee for those who don't have or want to be in a vehicle all the time.
Kind of that mistake.
Transportation Options Advisory Committee?
I do agree with Travis. With what Travis said about options, like. What we're trying to say with it is like, you have options, but also it's like. It's also kind of calling out the people that might not have the other option, so.
I think the ones I really don't like are choices. Maybe options is less offensive to me than choices.
In the transit space, choice riders are like, you're lucky you have those new
Yes.
transit system.
Yeah,
It's the meat and potatoes of folks that need transit are not choice riders.
we got like Transportation Connections Advisory Committee.
I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, maybe it's too big.
Well, that's interesting
What is
because
Connected Transportation Advisory Committee is it?
our non-motorized plan is called Connect Fairbanks. And so. Looking at it through that lens. It could be the. Connect Fairbanks Advisory Committee or. Connect.
I mean, personally, I like that because it gives space for transit, it gives space for non-motorized modes, it's. It's ultimately. We're trying to improve networks for different. Folks.
Which one are you talking about?
Which one was it?
I just said
Connected.
Connect Fairbanks Advisory Committee.
Oh, okay.
Connect.
Or connected Fairbanks.
Yeah,
Or an active.
yeah, the trouble is, it's like we also plan for North Wall and.
I think if we're gonna make a change, we either try to push to get walk and roll, push through. We stick with BPAC, or we go with something, because part of the logic in that walk and roll was it is self-explanatory.
Right.
To anybody that is looking, it is self-explanatory. Bike and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, it is self-explanatory. When we start talking about connections and starting to use some of these other words, it's not quite as accessible to just the average person off the street that doesn't look at things through the same lens.
Right, there are people that are like, oh yeah, I walked, and there are people that are like, oh yeah, I roll. Yeah, I guess a scooter is rolling, okay. Yeah, I mean,
So I mean, to me, it's kind of like. I think what technical committee has a problem with is walk and roll is a little playful,
It's not
but at the
technical.
same time,
it's
it's,
not
it
exactly.
explains itself.
Right.
And that was the goal with narrowing it
So
down
why
to
can't
that
we just
choice.
let it go to the next step? As They do.
Well, I mean, you can make a motion to do that.
I mean, I agree with everything that Matt has to say, and the reason we did it, I think, for those reasons. Maybe a little less technical and less descriptive to some people, but I think it's more descriptive to lay people.
When's the next policy board?
End of next month or third Wednesday next month.
So I would move that we just let it go, let it go to the policy committee and see what they did with it. I don't know, is there a way we could advocate it somehow at that level?
I think that what we could do is invite a BPAC representative to come and talk to the policy board. With it listed as an agenda item and an action item and just have, you know, in perspective, I think that would be really great.
We've got two options up there, if I could just put it to the group and ask, can we consider walk, roll and ride? I mean, this sort of covers passengers, it covers people on transit, like they're all active, but it broadens the net even farther, and then maybe it gets away from this feeling of rock and roll, you know, or whatever they're giggling
Yeah,
at you about.
and maybe that's how we approach it, is walk, roll and ride advisory committee. And
Yeah.
if they don't like it, then.
Right.
Then we regroup or stick with people.
And the walk, roll and ride, just looking at it from a like kind of high level philosophical thing, is walk and roll is already BPAC, but now we have transit and that's kind of our ride. So if we just amend it to that,
I like that.
maybe that gets away
Ride
from,
is bike,
what's that?
the ride is bike.
Also maybe bike. I
Yeah,
mean, that's
no, it could be
the
anything.
whole idea.
Or you could be you could be an underage, you know, kid that rides with their parents, like there's a lot of different, I think, ways that you could interpret those. It's open-ended, but maybe it gets away from.
And also from a graphic standpoint, I just like really like the symmetry. It's really,
Yeah.
really nice for. Cause bicycle pedestrian advisory committee meeting is, it's a lot, anyways. I like this, walk, roll and ride.
WWR.
WRR.
W2R.
WWR.
Anyway, I agree with that. I can
I'm okay with that.
feel that at all.
Okay. You gotta make a motion and stuff.
So ride can be before the roll.
Be a triangle logo.
So
If you put WRAR, then it's RAR,
There you go.
the RAR advisory committee.
Walk, ride and roll, then you don't have it. Walk and roll next to each other for the laps.
Okay, walk, ride and roll. Kind of rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll move that we substitute walk, ride and roll. Yeah. For the walk is over. Advisory. I'll second that.
Okay, motion made by Larry, seconded by Jim.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright. Okay, well, the motion carries, do we, is all we have to do for that one, Olivia?
Speak up.
What?
I do have one question. It's just unrelated to name change.
Uh-huh.
Looking at this, we did add 4 board seats.
Uh-huh,
Because I was talking to one of the airport police and fire officers. On Tuesday at one of the rides and brought up that we were looking at adding, and he said he would absolutely be interested.
great, yeah, it hasn't gone to policy board yet, but when it does, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, he would fit that law enforcement spot. And
uh,
Oh,
it would be honestly, it would be great if he could just write a letter of interest now so that we could have some material to provide for the policy board when we bring this. Just in case, like we've already gotten some significant interest and think this could be a really positive addition to the committee. Obviously, that's why we're bringing it.
I have another question about that. It seems that the technical committee recommended to the policy board that the 4 additional seats are non-voting seats.
You know,
I think we should try to push the policy board to make everyone on our committee equal. Because we already have a hard enough time filling committee seats. Part of the reason we want to add committee seats is not necessarily to make the committee bigger, but because we have a lot of vacancies on the board or on the committee, so those seats could get filled, we could have an easier time having more voices, meetings. And so filling seats that are non-voting when there's voting seats open seems like a silly thing to do, and making space on our committee for people that we want to hear their voices, but then not actually give them a vote on action items also seems silly.
yeah. Yeah, that seems like a strange recruiting tactic. Like, hey, come.
And especially since we had, I mean, I want all 4 these seats to be filled, but especially like a person with disabilities seat. If we're trying to transition the point of our committee from just focusing on bikes, pedestrians, to focusing on all non-vehicle users. I don't know why we'd want somebody on our committee from the disability community that doesn't have a vote.
Yeah, yeah, I can't speak to what the technical committee was thinking when they did that. Maybe because in theory, if there is a representative for the disability community, that they would already be here. But I mean, despite our recruiting efforts, like that's definitely been hard, but we can try again. I think that that's probably where they would have been coming from. That and last year, a policy board member tried to get some technical committee members to be ex officio, and one of those was law enforcement. And the police officer spoke in favor of that because he has a strong sense of guilt about like not being able to come to all of the meetings, and then also like being in meetings and having to like drop off right away, like and so he actually voted in favor of being ex officio non-voting in that regard. So I think that that's probably where they were coming from with that, but I can't speak to why school district transit or a disability community representative would fit in that same category. So
Is this name change gonna go back to the technical committee before it gets pushed to the policy board, or would we first try to go straight to the policy?
yeah, I think that's a Jackson question. I want to say that it could just go right to the policy board, especially because the technical committee voted. Because the technical committee voted to recommend this for approval to the policy board, they changed that to ex officio non-voting, which means that that will come up for discussion, like that'll be a part of Jackson's staff report. So I think Jackson wants to deliver it all as a package and just bring your name change with it. And since the technical committee already went over all of this, in theory, it should just go right to the policy board. But if you want the technical committee to have another conversation about this, because I mean, I think it would be more ideal if the technical committee recommended to the policy board that these be voting members.
What was their thinking on adding people to non-voting status? I mean, what sense does that make? We
I
can't
don't-
get enough members now as it is.
I think that that's probably a part of where it stemmed from. That and yeah. I don't know.
I just think that if it's gonna go to the technical committee again, it would probably be good to have somebody from our committee speak at the technical committee, and I definitely think it's probably good to have someone from our committee speak at the policy board.
For sure.
So, yeah, we just have to find out if we need one of us to speak at 2 meetings or just one.
Yeah, we can find out, but I also think like, we could just say we wanted to go back to technical committee and see the conversation. That could be good. Yeah, I'll just follow up with you guys on that. I know what your desires are, so we can. So I don't think we need like a motion or anything. Yes.
Can I speak up now or do you have to wait?
Kim, can Yvette make a comment?
Yeah, go ahead. Thanks.
Thank you. So I have the Park Street Big project and I have the Yankovic Memorial project, and I was looking at the vision and the users they have listed. I just want to make a comment that there are areas that can be used by roller skiers. If you want to do that,
Yeah. Oh. Yes, roller skaters, roller bladers. I'm one, or is the other? We don't talk about it.
small.
But yes. roller skate-related Thanks.
I think you said the roller skiers.
Or roller
UAF.
skiers. And skiers.
And I think there's high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Nordic Ski Club.
Yeah.
Competitive kids out there.
Yeah, so we could make it like roller skiers, skaters, bladers. Okay. Thanks for that. Yay, it's story map time.
Like we have a plan moving forward on that part of it. And,
Sorry, Kim, you're kind of like muffled.
oh, sorry. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. All right, sounds like we have a plan regarding that. We'll see how it goes over the next month or two. We'll move ahead on to the next item, which is number 8B. This is the bike lane signing and striping pilot program on page 14 of your packet.
That is just like a printout version of the story map. And we're still not totally done with it, but I wanted to give you guys like a nice, pretty comprehensive preview. I will say that in making this so far, Jackson and I both were doing just like a ton of background research based on a timeline that Corey had put together for a news source, and you guys have done so much work on this project, and I just want to start this particular agenda item off by saying thank you. And like, we made it, you know, it might not be the exact thing that we had hoped for in the beginning, but there are pilot bike lanes out there because of this group, and I just want to say thank you. So yeah, things start off in 2012, 13 years ago, when the first non-motorized plan was created for FMATs. This links to the full plan. And it was basically stood up on the foundation that the Fairbanks North Suburb bike plan had laid back in the late 80s. 2019 comes along and the city of Fairbanks submits a project nomination form to what is now fast planning, or I guess we were FMATs transitioning to fast planning then. And these are all linked, so you can see like the city's whole project nomination form from that time. And the technical committee ranked it the highest of 3 proposed non-motorized projects, and it was added to the federal fiscal year 19 to 23 transportation improvement program with a $2 million estimated cost for future design and construction. And then you can see in 2021, we updated our non-motorized plan again. Connect Fairbanks was soon adopted, so you can see that links just right to that plan. It takes a while to load because it's really big, but you can also see that the local consultant on the project reviewed the network from 2012 and proposed candidate bike lanes, which you can see over here. Our internet's being really great right now. So anyways, it's supposed to get bigger, but that's fine. Fall of 2022, we did note that the city proposed the bike lane pilot project and requested to reduce the funding amount from 2 million to 500,000. And this is a letter, I'm not gonna click on it, but you can make it bigger. You can read the letter from the BPAC, basically saying like, yes, please go ahead and do this because we want to ensure that the bike lane setting and striping project remains a priority in the funding program. So if this is how we get it, this is how we get it. I believe everyone at this table might have been there. Maybe not Matt yet. And then fall of 2022, you all discussed a smaller network at your next meeting. And the minutes from October of 2022 BPAC meeting note that you had requested to offer the city of Fairbanks with a compilation of recommendations for the network. And then that was how the bike lane setting and striping pilot project working group was established, and you had your first meeting in November of 22. So you can see here, this is one of the pages that Corey has put together for your concept system, phase 1. And so you can see just like all of the materials that were being referenced at that time that your working group was getting together. Spring of 2023, I love this one. We, the BPAC eventually agreed on a design concept. So you can click this and it takes you to V1 of the design concept that y'all had submitted to the city of Fairbanks. And you officially passed on your recommendations through an action at your meeting. So you can see here, this is like one of the many concepts, but I thought it was neat to show because it does show the history of Barnett and then where, you know, we're at now, but it was version 1. And so there have been a lot of like shifts in the telling of the story. And then you can see in fall of 2023, so about 6 months later, the city came back to you all and they had their revisions. And so then this links to version 2, which was also done by Corey, and their revisions of the network and the treatments of the pilot project were reviewed by you guys. And the city said, this is our plan, this is what we're going with. And then in March of 2024, the city of Fairbanks passed a resolution to authorize the mayor to, you know, it's resolution language, but basically they're like, yeah, you can do this. And then you can see the resolution here. You can also see that the votes weren't all in favor, and I imagine that's because they wanted an additional street. The original motion, it shows they wanted an additional street removed, and it didn't fully go through, but it seems like the council was pretty in support of this project, so it did go through. This is a link to a little news clip. And that's pretty much the history of that. So summer 2025, the pilot begins. So you can see here, we'll swipey swipe, pretty fun. We got the parking over here. Now we've got bike lanes. So I can honestly do this all day. So they're now pilot bike lanes, and I've gone out. I don't want to press play because I think that I don't have them muted yet. But anyways, I went out on my rollerblades and I just took videos of the areas, and I'm actually creating a playlist on YouTube to show just like this visual, like this virtual tour of these bike lanes via rollerblade, which I think is kind of ironic and funny. This is the map that shows where the bike lanes are. Still need to build it out a little bit, and I want to have pictures, hopefully like along the corridor of just like what you can expect, like when it changes, because it changes to Sharrow here to here, I think, and over here. But then there are designated facility over here, and then this is obviously designated, separated 2 sides of the road all the way to the school, basically. So I want to have sort of step-by-step changes. And then we tell the story about why it matters. Bike lanes provide guidance not just for bicyclists, but for all road users. They establish protocols and help people navigate without the confusion of who will make what move next. So really just trying to highlight the bike lanes, get away from that narrative of like, you know, tax dollars on the road and I drive all the time to being like, they don't just serve bicyclists, like they are serving every person in this corridor right now. They also provide safer access to schools, medical care, library, grocery store, and more. Narrower is safer for everyone, and so we call out the NACTO design guides call for lane widths of 10 feet or less in central business districts, linked to a very reputable source. So it's kind of fun. We're using it as an opportunity to get people thinking, what if? And then next is the data section, and we're still kind of building it out. I've got like the Eco Counter website embedded here because we're going to get those deployed. We're gonna do some radar gun stuff. I want to get some little kids out there with vests on by the school doing some radar just to see how, you know, the speeds will change when the bike lanes are there and when they're gone. And then what people are saying. So we've got all of these links so far. It's basically going to be like a living document, but we've got the links to Jim, of course, letter to the editor, and cyclist input, and then also the news minor coverage. And then we also have this slew of like Facebook comments, and I included the good and the bad. Yeah, so I tried to just like, you know, do a mix. And just kind of put it out there that it's like, yeah, you're saying this on Facebook and we also have it everywhere else. So,
I did notice, if you look on Facebook,
Mhm.
it is almost entirely negative. But if you look on Reddit in the Fairbanks group,
yeah.
it's like 100%
Love it.
positive.
I should go on Reddit. I'll post them on Reddit too. But I mean, some of these are like, not that one, surprisingly positive. Like this one, you'll see me on my e-bike tomorrow. That made me so happy. And it was like fresh lanes. And then those were all kind of in response to this lady, like, someone tell me what the sign means in the middle of my lane. It looks like I'm traveling on a bike path. And so then we hope to eventually get into the storytelling about like maybe some statewide education, help shape what's next. And then we're gonna have a survey. So that's really where we're at with the story so far, but wanted to provide historical context and really kind of explain that these didn't just pop out of thin air, like most people always think when it comes to transportation projects, but that is that, and I'm happy to share a link with you again. It's mostly in draft form. And if you have any specific language or images or things that you'd like to see in the story map, please let me know. But we're really excited to get this up on the website and just kind of start throwing QR codes everywhere. Oh, and then I guess we also have a webpage. I can show you that too. The city of Fairbanks hired, I think it was Michael Baker to help us put together this like one pager. So our webpage is fastplanning.us/BLSS. What? Oh, bike lane. Yeah. Is it 2025 BLSS? That's good. I hate that 404. It makes me feel so sad. Ah, okay. So then you can also see those preferred routes that I linked to here and there. And then this one pager, which is also in your packet, could be a nice resource to point other people to. We could print you out a stack if you need it. So yeah. Includes my report on that item.
Out of curiosity, like originally we were budgeted for 2 million and then it got cut to 500,000. What did just 2 streets cost?
600.
600.
Total project cost is 600, and that includes removal.
And that what? Include
Include their ultimate removal.
and that removal is scheduled for when?
I believe October. And the city will for sure remove the vertical delineators, but whether or not they pull paint is still up in the air. What?
Well, I live right at the corner of Ninth and Barnett, on the north side. At first, it was a little disconcerting, always having to remind yourself to look, in my case, to the left. We just never do that. But it's pretty easy to accommodate and it looks nice, I think.
Is there any signage on that street saying, telling people to look left?
No.
I don't-
But 99th is just a little stub, it's a.
I will say the traffic is moving, like the vehicle traffic is actually moving slower and that. Has been really nice. It's actually like quieter when I cross the street there. I can hear, it's like, I don't know, maybe it's because the cars aren't all close together or the tires aren't moving as fast, but it's.
Well,
It's
you think
slower.
it's slower because of the compressed lanes?
Yeah, for sure.
Yep, and then also just like paint the physical barriers, I think, really.
You actually makes more busy than. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that presentation, Olivia. I feel like that story map is really comprehensive and a good way to tell about how those came to be.
And
Does anyone have any other comments?
Hold on, Kim.
sorry, one last thing I wanted to end on is at the bottom of this, it redirects back to the main site and then we'll eventually have a survey that people can take. And we'll be stenciling a big QR code at either end of the corridor on both sides. So that people can go take a survey just on the fly while they're out there on site too. So we've got the eco counters that I'm working with Andrew Ackerman on right now, former employee at the City of Fairbanks. To get these installed and start counting next week. And we'll keep the pneumatic tube counters there for the remainder of the project till October.
Sounds like a good way to get additional feedback from the users. Is there any other comments on this before we move on?
No, I just wanted to know, so I guess, yes, I did want to know for the BPAC that, we will be, I put in our application to table at both of the downtown markets in August and September. So the third Thursday of August and September. And so we'll be seeking like direct feedback then, like big sign that says, come talk to us about the bike lanes. And then that'll, I'm sure that will solicit a lot of feedback. And then once we get our survey stood up and have the story map done, every bike valet will also have it, but then trying to figure out ways to get information that's like not just being sought from the bike community. So if you have any ideas or know of any events popping up where I can get feedback, that would be really great. Honestly, I'll probably go to a brewery or two. Okay.
Cool. Well, I'll try and think of some ideas for that. Send them over to you. The next item on the agenda looks like number 8C, which is the Alaska Walkability Action Institute Draft Action Plan.
Yeah, I can be really quick on this.
Okay.
I just want you guys to see it. I know we've got guests waiting, so I don't want to take up a lot of time, but this is the draft action plan that me and the Alaska Walkability Action Institute came up with after our trip to Anchorage, and then we came up with a few different goals. And so I really just wanted you to see kind of what we are pacing out. One of the things that we're hoping to do is conduct area specific walk audits over the course of like, I think we picked 3 years. And those will be identified through outreach. So our public health connection, her name is Erin. She's going to a bunch of events this summer and she's basically asking kids and parents, like, where do you feel safe? Where do you not feel safe in terms of movement? And so doing the walk audits and then basically taking the information from there and incorporating it into our planning process. We also want to bring up Turner Street again and use that as a demonstration project. And since the bulk of the work is done on that, we figured that this could be a good opportunity to bring it back up and use it as a demonstration project to improve a corridor and not only promote walkability, but like playability and designing spaces for children and encouraging movement in any way, shape, or form, while also contributing to economic development and community development. And since we have a City of Fairbanks City Council representative on this team, she was really excited about this one and feels like it's a really approachable goal, and that we can see some results within a couple of years. And then our third one, I think you guys might be excited about this. We really want to use funding through this program to do a cost benefit analysis and general analysis of what it would actually mean to infuse the sidewalks with the geothermal heat so that we can just evaporate the snow. There are communities in the world that do it. And so yeah, we basically just came up with a plan to make a plan and do a feasibility study and just see like, what is the reality of this? Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but there are lots of communities that do it.
Steam heat,
Steam heat.
not geothermal.
Not geothermal, steam heat, whatever.
That's it.
All those
We don't have any
steam
heat
jigs,
here.
the things that are putting steam into the air and then it just sits there.
Yeah.
It looks like we've got a guest.
You know, you can compare it. People, the larger, like we're talking ground field right now. Putting sprinklers in. I mean, let's face it, sprinkler in that thing is just each time like crazy. And so if the sprinklers can come in and take care of it, there's a savings of time. You know, and the grass will be greener, so it's less slick. So there's some really reason to look at getting the sidewalks clear.
Yeah.
You know, my wife is pretty restricted for movement. And she literally won't go outside and walk around during the winter.
So
She's gonna fall down.
Too dangerous.
Yeah. Of course, the big problem there is that a lot of the residential streets don't have sidewalks.
Yeah, that's another issue.
Yeah.
And one we should all bring up during the Metropolitan Transportation Plan update. That's our long range plan. Yeah, so I know it seems kind of silly, but also like I lived in Moose Jaw for 5 years in Saskatchewan, and like there's this place called the Temple Gardens Mineral Spa. It's funny because it's like a casino, but it's also a mineral spa, but it is heated geothermal energy. But those sidewalks are all just like heated.
Clear all the time.
Yeah, they're just clear all the time. That's great, because I mean, their main demographic, there's people who are like heading south for the winter, it's not through Moose Jaw, hang out spots, so. It's just cool to know that there are other communities that are doing it, not just in Europe, like in North America. And
And condo one that I'm associated with, we put in a raised sidewalk from, there used to be a bunch of steps there. Excavated it such that it was a gentle slope and heated it. It's wonderful. It's dry all winter long.
that's awesome.
Right.
Well, thank you.
Nobody's sliding and slipping on ice and stuff.
Yeah. And I think what would result of this more than anything is just like a plan to pace it all out and phase it and just be like, here's the concept, please run with it, but we'll see. So anyways, that's that. I just wanted you to see some movement in a world that isn't just about bikes. This is the Walkability Action Institute, and I'm really excited about the work we're doing. So now I think it's Yvette's turn. Haha.
Yes. All right, thanks, Olivia. We'll go ahead and move on to new business. We're going to start with number 9B, statewide CMAQ funds. Here to present that from DOT is Yvette Hall.
Thank you. Do you want me to pull up your presentation now, or do you want to speak to this presentation?
Okay,
Well, that's, yeah, it's okay. Whatever feels like the right flow for you.
So thank you for having me. This is the first time I've done this, but since I've been around for a little while, I thought I would just introduce myself. So I've been with DOT for 19 years. I started in construction, then I was in rural communities and aviation design. Then I switched to contracts, a lead review engineer, and when I went over there, I was asked to start reviewing our plans for ADA compliance, and that kind of led me to be now I'm ADA coordinator for the northern region, and it kind of started my passion for non-motorized users. So now I manage design project, and I have a staff that designs projects. Then I also manage the projects that City of Fairbanks designs that are federally funded because that has to go through DOT. I had the UAF project, Tenana Loop and Chandelier Drive. I was managing that one, and then I have some projects that also consultants design. And like I said, I kind of got into the ADA coordinator role and made a committee at DOT so we could we could come up with guidance for some of the things, for some of the requests or requirements that weren't quite clear. And yeah, now like by working with Bob Pristash, City of Fairbanks and fast planning, and I just really enjoy projects. They don't have to have a large dollar amount to them, but I feel like they have large impact on the communities by improving, something that people use every day and it can improve their life. So yeah, that's about me. More than anyone needed to know, probably.
You're singing my heart song,
Okay.
Ben.
Yeah. So, what happened recently was I found out that I was trying to find funding for widening portion of a mutual expressway, and I heard that we had some statewide CMAQ funds in the next fiscal year that were not spoken for yet. So because that's kind of what I like. I'm like, ooh, okay, well, let's see how much of that I can take. And so I went to the pre-construction engineer and to M&O and planning and kind of, did a walk around to see what we could make happen. And I worked with Ron Davis when we went and drove around. And from my perspective, it seems like I like to. It's great when we build new facilities, but we've also built facilities a while ago that, when we make them look appealing and more accessible and transversible and all that, and, they get more use and maybe make people more excited to use them as well. So I was looking, I guess I've had the Northern Region ADA Improvements Project because I did Northern Region ADA Reconnaissance when I was in contracts. And under that project, I've been improving ADA, facilities for ADA compliance. It was mainly sidewalks. And in order to, what I thought was a good use of money was to improve the facilities that we have, but they were really not accessible. They really needed to be improved. And that's kind of the vision I took on this one, because it would be a fast turnaround, and for the environmental document and environmental impacts, it's much easier to just go and fix what we have than, have a whole new impact. So I went around with Ron Davis and we looked at some pathways, and then as I think this has been brought up. I haven't been at that BPAC meeting, but I think Ron Davis was saying that it would be nice to have a parking lot near the Gar's intersection where people could just park and go and use it. So I had that in mind. So that's one of the, I guess, I made the 3 standalone projects. And standalone, by that I mean the project doesn't exist. It's not part of any current projects that we have, and we would have the project the design of the project will be just for that project, and then it will lead to construction. So I have 3 of those, they will fall, and then I have 6 others because I was trying to think how we can get these projects through as fast as possible. And it's because it's kind of a fast turnaround, the easiest was to lump them into projects that already exist or are on the books. And I have the Fast AD Improvements Project, which is kind of a spin-off of the Northern Region ADA Improvements Project, but it's within the MPO boundary of fast planning. And I figured I could add the locations to that, and then I could start collecting data this summer instead of potentially waiting until October or November and not knowing if I could turn around the projects that fast. So this was all very exciting and awesome. I do want to say that now we are dealing with the match issue, and I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm just gonna continue working on it, and I think that's all we can do. So that's kind of a new development, but hopefully this, hopefully we can construct some of these, whether next year or the year after, and just bringing attention to it, I think is a good thing. So the 3 projects that I did not add to my Fast AD Improvements project. One of them is Sheep Creek Extension path. As you know, I have the Parks Sheep Creek intersection project, and I got a lot of public comments asking for a separated facility along the Sheep Creek extension road. I worked with Jackson, this was brought up during the last non-motorized plan update, and there was talk about I guess the way that ended was that the roadway is 40 feet wide, and it will get restriped, and the shoulders are wide enough for to accommodate bicyclists. And I don't know how many of you listened to the webinar this morning about the new bike guide update, but personally I was very excited because they talked about us not designing to minimums just because something is a minimum that should not be, the go-to. And they also talked about designing to interested but concerned bicyclists and not what is the other group that's like 4 to 7% of population.
Yeah, super concerned.
That's about half of the population, right? So that's the shared use path users. And then the 4 to 7%, they're okay to ride with traffic or on shoulders. And anyway, so I would really like to, because my project is going to repave Sheep Creek Road almost to Gold Hill Road. I would really like to take advantage of it, hopefully, and lump it together for construction as one project. If I could make this project happen and get funded, then we would at the same time build a separate facility. It would probably be separated by striping, but I think that would be preferred by a lot of non-motorized users compared to wide shoulders. So anyway, that's my goal. I don't know where it's gonna go, but that's one project. The next one of the 3, the Pauline Path improvements. This was interesting. I admit I lived off of Belaine for a few years. The first, 5 years in Fairbanks that I lived here. And that was the first path that I kind of, lived next to. Where I grew up, it was kind of like Yankovic Road, where I would just take my chances on the shoulder when I wanted to go biking. So this was really nice, but I did notice that at some point while I was living there, a portion of it went from paved to gravel. But anyway, I drove around, with Ron to look at the pods, and he said it would be really nice if this one would get a facelift at some locations because portions of it flood, and it, you can see that it does get used. So Olivia has it. I wrote up this big paper to cover myself because we are going to be using FHWA funds, and we need to meet ADA, uh, requirements. I am proposing for this path to be gravel surfaced because, it does require like routine maintenance due to settlement. You all probably know what what the ground there is like. And my justification is that it's more accessible if it gets graded, but graded good enough that it may not be comfortable, but it is accessible or the most convenient, but it is more accessible than having, differential settlement on the pavement that may be to the point where it's not accessible at all. And I was not able to go and repair it as needed.
It'd be something like Miller Hill Extension, was that was.
I am gonna
gravel.
pay that.
Okay, right, I know, but
Yeah.
it is,
Yeah, that one held up well, so,
Okay.
yeah, but it's gonna be like along the Sheep Creek there under the Miller Hill.
Okay.
That was not getting paid as far as I know. I mean, the ADA requires, the surfacing to be firm, stable, and slip resistant. And if you do try to push a wheelchair, especially like one of those basic wheelchairs on compact gravel, it is not the most fun experience. So, I feel for it, but also if you're about to tip over because, the path settlements and stuff like that, it's just, I felt like that was the best, so I wrote that up and I had a pre-construction engineer to accept that or approve it, when I wrote the nomination for the Boleyn path improvements. And just since I kind of was looking into it, it was, the first time it was built was in 1974. And for a portion of it, and then 1976, they built, more of it. And then in 1985, they had to go and fix it up, as a project into the settlement. And then I think it was, like I said, early 2000s when MNO went and just removed a bunch of the pavement in the.
When I grew up out there, it was paved all the way out to the Vallada.
Yeah.
Yeah. My parents built their house in '83. And that was one of the things that was part of the motivation was there's bike path out there, even though it's Farmers Loop, remote. Like we could take that, go to Farmers Loop, go up to Pearl Creek. Like it used to be paved.
In 1993, there was a project that removed portions of pavement. That was a federally funded project. And then MNO, because of the settlement, when it came
yeah, I guess, I'm just like mind blown right now, but yeah, I understand.
But what I saw from the documents, like DOT tried, and then
It got repaved at least once.
yeah. So
So would it be similar to the path like on the side of Chena Hot Springs Road, like for the first 5 miles they redid a couple years ago?
I don't know. That one is a trail. I actually don't know that much about that one. It would be more similar to the one along like going from Miller Hill to UAF, where it's a build-up
Okay.
path and because I don't know the China Springs not that much, but I do know that was what I heard was it was discussed. It's not a pathway, it's a trail.
Yeah.
So to get around some of the issues, because it's being used by horses and, and other users. So yeah, that one is not a shared use path. This would be a shared use path. The pathway was built 7 feet wide, and that seems to have been back then the width, because we have some other pathways around town that are also 7 feet wide. So the project would improve it, but it would also widen it to 8 or 10. The nomination I did included widening to 10. And this here, I'm so bad at this. This is Anthony Hunt. He's one of my designers, and he's the one who did a lot of work on this. So when you guys have specific questions, I'll just show Anthony because he was. And the third project, that would be a standalone project. We ended up calling it Gatsby parking lot. That's within the DOT right of way. It's kind of an area that's not being used right now, but it could become a parking lot. I don't know what I'm gonna be able to do there and what I'm not going to be able to do there, but at the least we could provide a gravel parking lot, and then one of the items that makes me say that is that there might be contamination, and if that is, then we would just kind of fix it up so people can park there. If it wouldn't allow us to go and, you know, build up the pads to stand up the to be able to support pavement.
Where is this intersection? I can't read it.
That's GARS.
Oh, God.
So
Yeah.
Airport trainer gate.
Yeah.
So the idea is that it could be like a park and ride, so people could utilize the Mac Buffer Path or all of the facilities that lead into the downtown.
Yeah, in the summer, it will not have snow removal in the winter, so it did not end up calling it a park and ride. Yeah.
Seasonal park and ride.
Yes.
Just being able to park there and then go across the intersection and go on the new bike path towards North Pole would be
Right.
at least a good recreational opportunity in the summer. I don't know how much it would be used for commuting, but maybe it would.
It could be, but yeah, I mean, I have 2 kids and I like to go, you know, biking where I don't have to look for driveways, so that new path is like perfect.
Yeah.
So then I have locations that we looked at and selected to go under the Fast ADA Improvements Project, and a little bit of so I had the Northern Asian ADA Improvements Project, and I had a project in Valdez, in Nome, and then under this project, I widened the 6th Avenue sidewalk. We also redid the 4th Avenue. Sorry, it's just like, what is it between which streets? 6th Avenue is between, Noble and Cushman, and 4th Avenue between Barnett and Cowles.
That sounds right. I'm remembering this map.
Yeah,
That's right.
so, and maybe there was another project, I don't even know. Yeah, the College Road, sidewalk that we were looking at the map, that was one of these Northern Region ADA improvements projects. And then we had some issues with you know, with how things were shown in the STIP, and so I've been trying to get 6th and 7th Avenue redone between Cowles and Barnett, and I started last summer. And then I had to get this name change and get it in the tip and all these things. And now it's been submitted for a project start. It's not approved yet, but I pulled the project start as this was going to our statewide and had them add the 6 locations to it, so I could potentially start working on them now. So it doesn't yet exist, but hopefully it's on its way and it's gonna get approved. So I called Jackson and asked him for, you know, the BPAC priorities, and like I said, I looked at fixing up what's there. So you know, this is from 2022 priorities list. So I have some that are included here, and then later what is not included in that project. And then just the disclaimer, I don't have in my slideshow the proposed new improvements from the 2022. So there was nominated Farmers Loop Path, and that was to repair the existing asphalt path from Taku to the lane. And there was if we can go to the next slide, it's kind of interesting because when we drove it with Ron, we decided to go from Belen to like select areas from Belen to Stees. So the same road, but a different path. So Anthony went to look at the one between Taku and Belen, and there are a couple sections that could use improvements. So I'm considering expanding the project termini and including that. And one of the reasons I want to look at the Farmers Loop is because I don't attend your meetings very often, but when I do attend them, I just just kind of comes to my ears, the gravel on the path, farmer's loop, right? And it seems like we can't really fix it the way it is now, and I was thinking if we can elevate it in some of the areas that the gravel wouldn't, so easily go on the pathway, that might help. There's never like 100% solution, but anyway, we're looking at that. So, and all of these projects, pretty much, I just want to fix what needs to be fixed. So, we wouldn't be redoing the entire pathway. We'll be redoing the sections that fall into like areas that make improvements. So yeah, that's that one. The another one that was in your 2022 priorities was this highway path. And I included this in the project start, and then I started talking with Jennifer Wright, who is the project manager for Steve's Joe project. And I'm like, well, how far does the other project go? And she's like, oh, it goes all the way to Trainer Gate. I'm like, well, that is great. However, this highway path now that I'm looking at improving, which is on the next slide, would be the area just south of that, since that one is supposed to get fixed with the Steve's Joe, is between Trainer Gate and Airport Way. And as you can see, thank you, Anthony, he went and walked it, and it could use some improvements. And this is also about, is this one the one that's 7 feet wide?
This is, it starts at 5 at College and moves to 7 feet wide, Trainer Gate.
So I would really like to widen that too. The DOT reconstruction manual requires us to go minimum, the minimum width is 8 feet for shared use facilities. So yeah, that's that one. The Parks Highway path was on your priorities, and yours went from Gold Hill Road to Geist, and maybe part of it is because I think it's kind of close to there where the MPO boundary ends. Disclaimer, I live off of Parks Highway, so I bike this one a lot. And what I found that it could use improvement outside of the MPO boundary too. So if you can go to the next slide, I called it Fairbanks to Esther Path. I think it was in 2007 that the bike, this road was redone and the bike path was built. And then fairly recently, there was the Old Vienna Highway project that continued this bike path to the village road that goes to the Esther proper, which is really nice. I didn't want to improve just along the parks. I wanted to keep the connection going. And really the only thing that needs to be improved on the Old Vienna Highway is the striping. So over here on the in the right, you can see a maintenance like pavement patch. There is actually a 10-foot wide pathway with a 5-foot gore stripe, like the one that's on the left, with an 8-foot shoulder, and then there is a travel lane. The way it is right now, it has been striped, but the only thing that is there now is a fault line. So to people who don't know that there used to be a path that's separated by gore striping, I actually saw a vehicle driving on it, like a 2-lane, right, the other day. It's very confusing, and it kind of, to me, it goes back to that we need to have a facility, and the drivers need to feel comfortable using this facility. And once you see a vehicle driving on the designated non-motorized pathway, it just kind of decreases your level of comfort. So what happened on the Old Vienna Highway? So it was built the same way, and that one they separated. They did the gore striping with paint. The picture over there is on Parks Highway, which was done with a surface applied metal methacrylate. And this one is there, 18 years later, the Old Vienna Highway. If you drive it today, there is nothing. Like, it's all gone. The gores, the longitudinal lines, it's completely gone. So so the reason I included the Albiana Highway, that little portion that goes to the post office and the Esther proper is to redo that striping, so people can continue to, you know, feel safe and use that facility. A lot of the settlements, like even this one that's over there on the right, it seems to be caused by drainage issues. A lot of the pathway is separated. Over here, it's not separated, but it's still, you know, the embankment was widened quite a bit to add that separate the attached path. And it's kind of funny because when you go out there and you look where the ponds are after you know, big rain or after spring thaw, that's where the patches are. So I would like to fix the drainage along the highway and the other side of the pathway as well. Yeah, so that's what's on this slide. This is another slide for that. You can see there's you know, there are some settlements and patched areas quite a bit and the separated portion. And a lot of it is now getting the vegetation growing through the asphalt, so I would like to do some kind of a root cutting also before we would retake it. The next one is the Birch Hill path. Like I said, I just want to fix what kind of needs to be fixed, and when I talk with Dan Shacker in MNO, you know, like, hey, these are the locations I want, and I also want to put a attached pathway on the Sheep Creek Extension Road. Can I please do that? It's like, well, so eventually I got approval from MNO for it, but it's like, what about the Birch Hill path? Like, we're filling in the road, but the pathway is like so sunken in. So I added that to the location, and you know, it's not in a bad shape. It's just like, it just needs a little help in some places. Then another, you know, John Latardas, you guys probably know, is like, hey, what about that path along the Chino Ridge Spur? So I'm like, dude, well, what path? What is it?
That's like leaving Bankstown and heading towards the,
Every Friday.
I know, Tegan in the trailer, she's like, every time.
Well,
That'd be
Anthony
great.
thought this one was really cute because, you know, you've got almost like a center stripe there for the two direction, naturally made by grass.
Yeah.
On that Friday ride, there's two distinct groups where one group takes the left path, the other one takes the right.
That's so cute.
And it's like the same people every time.
You have fun social experiment.
But sorry about that, we'll get rid of it if we do make the project. Anyway, it's good, it was brought to my attention because it looks like it needs a facelift.
Yeah.
And then we have one more that I managed to get into mine, and that's the Hearst Road. And it's pretty interesting because the pathway is really in a good shape, but when you go and look at the sides of it, it doesn't look like it's gonna last that long. So that's another location we have in. And I think really the biggest thing to see if we can do here is to can we kind of establish, and I think portions of the parks, Highway 1, 2, and maybe even Forest Loop, can we establish some kind of a area where four-wheelers can ride, the four-wheelers who want to ride without affecting other facilities. Like, there are all kinds of people out there, it's, you know, we can't fix everything, but giving them an area to ride without eroding the embankment of the paved path, you know, I think a lot of people would go for it, so.
Yeah, that actually came up at the bike ballet, just like, can we start planning for that as like its own separate facility as well?
Yeah, I mean, people love to ride ATVs, and I don't blame them. I mean, it's a lot of fun, but if they don't have a space to do it, then they have to find a space to do it, and yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, so those locations are under the Fast ADA Improvements Project right now. So I could start designing them if I can get, what I'm trying to get is funding fees or approval or allocation of statewide CMAC funds for design cost increase this fiscal year, so I could, do something with this and get a allocation for phase 4 funds for these for next year. And because of the issue with the match, everything is on hold right now. So I'm not as excited to be here today as I was like, a week and a half ago, but I'll see. Just gotta keep going. Something might happen. So the other items that I'm considering adding to the fast AD improvements project would be, and as you may have noticed, these are all state maintained, so we're talking about the state CMAC funds. Would be the portion of the Davis Road pathway. It's a small portion, but it could use a repave in that one section there. And I guess I've been at DOT too long because I was project manager that built this pathway, so. It's like you start getting your projects back, but it's kind of weird. So this is one. The other one is the Phillipsfield Road path. I don't believe this has been done. I think it was on one of the notes I got from Jackson to confirm that this hasn't been done. It has not been done. So we could add this one potentially. And Steve's Highway, this one Anthony brought up, between Airport Way and the cemetery access. Could use a facelift, and we've got to look at what we can do with this. Because as like it meets the width for a sidewalk, but not a shared use spot. But it looks like maybe we could do a shared use spot. Obviously, my goal is not to require any right of way acquisition to make this happen. But yeah, so this is another one that I'm considering.
That was right from that parking area you were.
Yeah. So and then here I just have some things that I got from fast planning. So this is from the June 2025 fast work session. So Phillipsfield Road is the one that I'm considering taking potentially. The Denby Road area path. I think that's Borough. I don't know who thinks that. I don't think it's. I would guess Borough. And then the States Highway, like that was listed that you guys had from 2022. That's gonna be done by well, not the entire thing. Sorry. No, I don't know why it's green, but the Johansson to Trader Gate is gonna be done by Steve Joe interchange. And then Farms Loop extension, I was originally going to add that to the fast AD improvements project. But that's going to be a detour to Steve Joe interchange. And it's gonna be built a year before the interchange, so I think it's planned to be in 27.
27.
And Ron Davis said that he was considering doing something there this summer, and then he wrote me a week or so ago that they went and fixed portions of that path. I don't know what it looks like, but to us that one has been taken care of as far as DOT is gonna do it for foreseeable future.
That's the problem.
That's the Farmers Loop extension, so
From
it's,
Farmers Loop down to Joe.
yeah, the first portion of it, that was like, oh.
Yeah, my wife said she wrote it Tuesday, and it was amazing.
Okay, good. Well, tell Ron that he did that.
Thanks, Ron.
I know he's not even like listening, giving him all this credit. Frustrated.
I'll send him the recording.
And China Landing loop, it's kind of I have the China Riverwalk project, and that one kind of keeps being potentially part of that project. So I'm not pursuing it as its own. I think that's all I've got to say about these. Well, except I would like to know what is the, I'm sorry, if you can go back, what is the Olstis Johansson path signage and why can't that just get lumped with some other project?
I don't know, I feel like Rat Ranger, that one. I don't know if it's like the Johansson path, that we were just gonna change it to the Peter Stern path, but
I
I.
think that's,
That's what it is.
well, from that, access road,
Right,
directing cyclists to the Johansson bike path instead of taking a little detour.
I think you're right.
I think it's in here.
Oh, yeah, it is, right here, page 51, install guided signs for direct, well, found on the right. Joke.
It just seems like it should work this as a long project.
Yeah,
It wouldn't be that hard to lump it in, it was just about anything.
okay, yeah, well, that's also great expertise to roll into the next conversation. Or next consideration of conversation, because I know it's 6:50, then we can talk about this having a work session. No, that's, thank you so much, you got.
And then some other ones that I just have at the end from the 2022, starting on the next, yeah, I get that, but, anyway, this was kind of interesting because it was priority 3 and priority 6, but really it's one guy's throw path and the area was overlapping, so, you know, if it was me, it would be like one project. But, you know, that can be considered to be, move forward. Numbers, sorry, the next slide is number 7 priority, and that one is, I think it's all maintained by the city, but, I don't even know why I have that there. I guess I just like, yeah, these are the ones that I'm not doing, but they seem like they haven't been done yet from 2022 and they are not new, new facilities, that's why I put them there. It's just, yeah, and then, yeah, this one, I don't know who maintains it. It'll be the first step to find out. We don't start any projects unless we have a maintenance agreement in place. The next one is the 8th Avenue path in North Pole. I asked Ron, we do not maintain this one, so I didn't add it to ours, but we were pursuing, and you know, so these can be also nominated for the fast surface improvements.
Jackson actually
So-
has here, the 8th Avenue path was included in the improvement program for mid construction in 26.
Excellent,
So,
okay.
yeah, that one. And the Davis Road path. So he must have found out who maintains those.
Oh, the Davis
Oh,
Road
Davis
path.
Road, I was thinking Danby, but yeah,
Davis, okay, cool. Okay, so we will include it in ours.
yeah.
And then, I'm just gonna put in, oh yeah, and then, yeah, if we can find out what this says and maybe just make it part of something else.
Just make it part of the Steve's Joe, like is how we.
I think it's because we had, at one point, we had noted that there was people riding their bikes on the south side of the Johansson. Like they'd come up Old Steve's from Fred Meyer. They would like ride on the highway. It's like, we just put a sign there to tell people to cross the street and ride on the, you know, separated bike path. I don't know if people would do it, but at least.
Maybe Jackson kept it a standalone because it could be as simple as getting $1,000 worth of signs and just.
Did Dr. Ron about that?
I don't know. I don't even remember. I
Because
mean,
it sounds like it's like a few signs that maybe could be even manufactured in the DMT shop. I don't know if they could or could, you know what I mean?
They've got a side shop there.
yeah, we should bring it up. Let's bring it up for the next,
Eric Slade and Dustin Whitty.
we do a work session. on it.
Or they could be
Hour,
ordered,
right.
it's, I mean, it's not worth doing it on project, but it sounds like it's a little bit of a gap that we could potentially address somehow. Then, like I said, I'm the ADA coordinator, so I wanted you guys to consider improving sidewalks. And I don't think this is the Green Streets policy that's out there. So when I did the Northern Region ADA reconnaissance, the beginning of that was all DOT maintained facilities. And then I requested a scope change from FHWA and I got publicly maintained facilities, so I had two interns who kind of went around and did um they did a database for civil rights office, but I teamed with civil rights and said, hey, can they do my ADA stuff while they're doing your ADA stuff? And I created a ArcGIS that I use to this day where I go, that's how the 6th and 7th, have a big 7th looks similar to this thing here. And so I just went there and pulled like 3 locations. And I'm not saying like go ahead and nominate this. I'm just saying this is what we have in Fairbanks and it might be worth looking at, kind of expanding from the shared use spots to also sidewalks. If we can, build good sidewalks for people so they can access the better facilities that are out there.
Have you like connected with the city of Fairbanks on this at all in terms of?
No, I put this
receptive-
together like 3 days ago.
Okay,
But the big thing would be to talk with Bob, because some of these might have utility involvement, some of these, we may, he may want to put in a new storm drain system and that kind of stuff.
or maybe test heat sidewalks with steam. It's gonna happen. That'd be cool. I mean, if we're ripping them up.
Yeah, it's not
I know, it's not that.
so, you want to pursue that for 6th and 7th, that I'm hoping is gonna go to construction next summer, which is adjacent to the UAF community building. I think that would be a better location than purely residential.
That's true. Okay, thank you.
But yeah, there are 2 more nice examples like this. And
How do you get involved with 5th and 6th Avenue in Fairbanks?
how did I get involved with it?
How do you, it's a Fairbanks project,
It's a federal money and
Okay.
so from the Northern Region ADA project, I try to find the most ADA non-compliant facilities. And I got approval for, and you can't really see it, but the bottom left, there is a sidewalk hidden behind the leaves. It's very cute, it's a little hard to see. But yeah, I talked to planning quite a few years back and I said, can we just do this? Because it doesn't go through fast, this money doesn't go through fast, and state only pays the match. And at that point, they were okay with it, so I just keep rolling with it until I'm told otherwise.
You call anywhere in residential streets, I live on 8th Avenue, there's no sidewalk, 7th Avenue, there's no sidewalk. I mean, there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, and then there is one more for your enjoyment there.
Yeah.
Right.
Ooh, look at that. Slow.
Maybe more than one. Maybe there's one more. I tried to give you options, yes. But yeah, that's what I have around math these days. And like I said, like I'm just gonna keep moving forward and hopefully I can make something more happen. If not, I do have the funding for the 6th and 7th is already planned. And under that, I also have for 9th Avenue off of Lathrop Street and 10th Avenue between Cowles, which leads to the school. The way I'm looking at it is like the schools have a playground and that's the playground, that's the parks for the neighborhood, so I would like to improve the access to those for the residential areas nearby.
Holy moly.
Thanks, lots of great ideas.
This is great stuff here. Fixing this mess up.
We know it.
Yeah, we know. It's actually dangerous to walk down the street. When there is even,
So
so.
this is definitely some like new stuff to bring to the next conversation, so.
Hmm.
It's great. That's terrible.
Yeah, I did run it by Bob. I did run obviously the 9, 10, and 6 and 7 by Bob, and we have a plan. Okay. But yeah, I think the first thing is awareness, and then, you go from there.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Did you want to run through we're good? Kind of
Okay,
covered it,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. That was good. And they've got it in their.
All right, well, that information does play into our next item about project nominations. Since we're pretty much at the end of our meeting, I think I'd like to suggest that we move the non-motorized project nomination and prioritization to our next work session. And that way we can go ahead and not have to rush through this, since this is a really important step in what we do, so I'd like to give it the time it deserves.
Yeah,
Oh.
we can slate like a specific work session just for this item.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right, does anyone have any other informational or issues or other comments from committee members? Okay, Matt.
Hey, there's been a handful of really good articles I just want people to be aware of, and I will email them to Olivia, but ADN today had a thing on how state road design is killing users. So I would encourage, like, yeah, I would encourage going to ADN's website and reading that article. And Craig Madrid had 2 articles on stuff in Anchorage on hit and runs down there that were just earlier this month.
Okay. Yep, I can pass those along. Some of them to me as some context, so appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, does anyone have any other issues or comments that they want to bring up right now?
Since our section of the bylaws hasn't actually been officially changed by the policy board, is there any reason we should have a July meeting? Because we haven't actually gotten our
Oh, you mean the roles and responsibilities?
roles and responsibilities changed to do every other month instead of.
Yeah, I mean, we could just be in July if you guys want to do that. The reason I appreciate the work session aspect of it is it's like, it's dedicated time for this one thing.
Exactly.
And I think that model, I just think that model might work better for this committee.
It's fine with me, I just wanted to make sure we were not skipping a meeting that we were supposed to be having, that was supposed to
Oh,
be
I see.
open to the public and advertised as such.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's a good point, because last month was already scheduled to not be scheduled. So I'll double check with Jackson. That's a good point.
I mean, I do like the work meetings, I just,
If we need to.
If we need to have we need to have a July meeting,
Then we should have
we
it with
should
that.
mostly devote it to the
Yeah. That's a very-
prioritization.
Okay. Okay, that's a super good point. Thanks for catching that.
Awesome. Okay, well, thanks, Travis, and thank you to all the other committee members and our guests and our Fast 20 staff who came together to make this meeting possible. And I'd like to go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 7:02.
Second,
All right. Oh, wait, we have to motion. I always forget that.
We got a second on the board.
There you
Oh,
go.
okay. All right. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Kim.